Hello, fellow Toolboxers. Thank you for joining episode number 339. This is going to be a very cool one interview with Vincent Lau, great business immigration attorney who's also organizing the fall conference for AILA on the employment track that's going to be in Texas, I think Dallas. So, very worthwhile to attend this and to get to know the people involved. You learn a lot of just good content, always about how do you become a better immigration attorney, both expanding practice areas, but also expanding a knowledge of business. And you're going to get both. I talked with Ruby Powers already, who's doing the business and tech track. She's got some really good stuff lined up. But before we start, I do want to mention that we have a new continuing legal education series, or part of our series, interview about D3 waivers. These are when you have a ban and you need to come with a non-immigrant visa. That's a 212 waiver, essentially, 212 D3, I think it's called, with Daniel Parisi. His member is really active in the Rome district. He's in Europe, has practice there, and does tons of these. Probably the best NIV waiver attorney there is out there. And we were lucky. They sat down with us and broke it down and put us a handout how to do these. I mean, you could literally make a side business, which is essentially what he's done, of just doing these kind of waivers. And it really pops up in practice once in a while. Very important to know, even if you're doing like a fiance visa, for example, stuff like that. So if you want to get involved and get this, plus the last one we did the month before, about absences and how that affects keeping a green card for clients. A great call, Joseph saying, has a side practice of 6 figures plus, probably higher than 6 figures. You know what I mean? Of just dealing with this, of people who've been outside the U.S. for too long on a green card, how to get it back in. And, it's a lifesaver for these people. Get this free, all these videos for lawyers. You just got to join our community page. Send me your email address if you're not already a member, and let me know what bar you're from, because we got to confirm this is for lawyers only. And you access that plus dozens of other videos, breaking down the 245I, how that works, breaking down 245K, I think that video on that. But all these different kind of topics that I see all the time on Facebook groups, immigration lawyers don't know anything about. And so I really want to educate, because it's very important to get proper service to do this kind of stuff. We also have a course called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card course that goes through the entire green card process. I think it's 18 hours of video training on that. So you can check that out and join that. If you want to learn more about that, email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. The following is not intended for individual legal guidance, consult an immigration attorney. We're not going to go into the law too much more about practice in the conference and stuff like that. I think you're going to like it. But without further ado, let's get it started. Hey, Vincent, thanks so much for coming on the show. Vincent Lau, you have an employment-based practice, and you're part of the upcoming conference with AILA coming up. So I want to get more information about the conference and to learn more about you. So to start, how did you grow up? Where did you grow up, and how did you become an immigration lawyer?
Yeah, so I don't know if you can tell from my accent, but I'm a born and raised Bostonian. We're notorious for our accents. I think one of my very first jobs out of undergrad was to work for an immigration law firm. Actually, the immigration law firm was in California. So I really enjoyed being there, but home is still Boston. So I came back after law school, had a few different jobs, but eventually everything was pointing towards immigration. So I joined one of the firms in 1999, and all I did was employment immigration and some family cases on the side. So I've been doing this ever since.
In law school, you did the internship between undergrad and law school, not during law school.
No, right after law school. Oh, sorry. I was a paralegal, so it was between undergrad and law school.
Because I graduated a couple years after you, but like they keep pushing you to corporate law, and they say if you get pigeonholed. If you said immigration, then everyone's like, oh, so like a lot of law students don't want to do the immigration route, or they don't push them into that. So, but if you did after undergrad, it kind of made sense. And so you were a paralegal for an immigration law firm during that time,
right?
In 1999, that was a world difference. Probably H-1B didn't have cap at the time, wasn't fully used, and perm was different, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. It was completely different. Not to the internet wasn't even around then, right? It was barely around. And I will be very frank. I did not go into immigration law thinking this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I was a liberal arts major. I needed a job. I applied to 90 different places and got a call. Right. So, but that's I really love
3 ways. Yeah, immigration lawyers find jobs. They either are like wanting humanitarian work a lot. They either speak a certain language and kind of like okay, I could get this community, get clients. And third, a lot of it is just like it just popped up, and you realize that you fall in love with the practice area. You're like, oh, well, I got lucky. This is like exactly what I like to do. And you've been doing it for like 20 plus years now, I guess, 25, 26 years now.
Yeah, and so you're right. It's like the one I do speak Chinese, and so back in the old days we had this thing called the Martindale Hubble, which is a big book with all the law
Yeah.
firm names and languages, and so I basically found all the ones I thought would look at my resume, and then that's how I got into the immigration field. But yeah, I love it after learning a little bit more about it.
How did you decide to start your own firm? After work, you work for other places, then you launched your own firm?
Yeah, so actually, before I mean, in 1999, I started with a firm called Flynn and Clark. Joe Flynn had passed away, and then Steve Clark was ready to retire, and he said, "Vince, you're the last man standing. You're one of the other associates here. What if I made you partner?" So we shut down Flynn and Clark, and then opened Clark Lau. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
it really started. I wouldn't say that I started the law firm on my own or anything like that. So my mentor and I both started to doing that back in 2012.
And Boston is a big hub for tech and a lot of stuff. So the EB work comes in pretty naturally over there.
Yeah, so even though our practice is national, most of our clients have some kind of connection to the Boston area. So we do a lot of
Mhm.
tech, a lot of life sciences, but we also do a lot of schools and social service organizations. So that's what keeps us busy and keeps the work diverse.
How's your NIW work been? I've seen in the last year or two, we got an influx of like neuroscientists for some reason. We get a lot of those, and they're like getting approved NIW, even EB1As. Are you seeing any uptick in approvals for NIW, just like or less annoying RFEs, if you will?
Yeah, so I mean, I think when the Biden administration made an announcement about sort of NIW and tech and AI, a lot of people got very interested in that. So I will say some of the cases that in the past we probably wouldn't treat as an
Yeah.
NIW, now I think more people are open to it. We're hearing lately that maybe they're swinging back a little bit,
Hmm.
but we'll see. But I think at this point we tell everyone, hey, eyes wide open, right? If
Yeah.
you've got a good narrative for it, why not give it a try?
Exactly. Yeah. This is the problem with NIW is the backlog is so annoying that you got to keep them here sometimes do AOS or have to deal with constant processing, which is annoying.
Right.
Cool. So, you do a lot of activities at AILA. How did you get involved in setting up this conference? And first of all, when and where is it? And what is the track that you're focused on?
Yeah, good question. So I've been involved with AILA for a long time now, and most recently I finished up my term as the chair of the DOL liaison committee. So at one of the conferences, they pulled me aside and says, "Hey Vince, we want to have a perm conference again. It's been a while. Would you be interested in chairing it?" So this is part of AILA's fall conference. There is a perm track. What we wanted to do this time to make it a little different, number one, we're having representatives from the Department of Labor come and
Oh,
speak.
neat.
So we're going to have a hot topics panel to kick things off. So the new perm director, so the Department of Labor just hired a perm director. He's going to be coming. And as people may know, the new perm applications are starting to get adjudicated. So we're hoping to see some trends and ask some questions there. But we're also asking, we're also having panels on areas that are a little trickier. Obviously the remote work, the equal pay, but we're also having a panel on sort of like smaller businesses. Obviously there's the big corporations, they're all doing their perms, but what about the smaller guys, right? Like
Yeah.
what do you have to look out for before you get involved in the perm process? So we have a panel on that as well.
Very cool. And there's different angles. Perm is so one mistake could like destroy everything. It's so disastrous, and I wish they wouldn't make it so strict. And I saw on your page you have like 10 associates working at your firm. There's obviously a lot of business happening. How do you, as a managing partner, keep track of everything and make sure it's in order? Any tips do you have for somebody who's growing and like how do you does organize chaos to a certain extent? How do you manage all that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of it is just personal touch. I meet with everybody in the office, every attorney, every paralegal. I meet with them at least twice a month, going over their casework. We keep it very collegial. Everyone can ask each other questions. Also, going back to perm, right? Perm is very exact. So every single 9141 prevailing wage application and every 9089 labor cert application, it's reviewed by two attorneys. So that's why
Hmm.
we sort of keep the quality assurance piece. But I think really at the end of the day is keep open dialogue. If people mess up, I mean we're human, right?
Yeah.
Instead of coming down hard, it's like, well, what can we learn from this so that people are not afraid to talk and speak up.
Now, we're more than halfway through the year. What is what kind of business plans or do you have for this up the rest of the year, next year? What is like? Because I'm sure with the amount of people you have more sophisticated business planning and stuff. What are the things you're focused on in the next 12 months, especially with the potential change in administration in some form or fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the employment side of things, a lot of our work is driven by new hires, right? And clients having new hires, and unfortunately, let's just be honest, the economy is not great. There's a lot of layoffs in the tech and
Yeah.
life science field, and so we're sort of taking advantage of any lulls in the workload that we have to invest in ourselves, right? I tell the
Yeah.
team, hey, I want to invest in you from a professional development perspective and also in a business development perspective to sort of help us get ready for whatever the new administration comes. Also want to warn all our clients or sort of give them advice, right? To sort of like, hey, make sure you get everything you need to get done now. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever the change is going to be, it's going to be a change. And any travels, any planning that you need to do, let's try to do it before January, right? So yeah.
Yeah, the lulls are interesting. We have two where it'll be a down point for like a month, and then I used to get afraid. I'm like, what's going on? Then I realized it just goes back and then doubles. So I always, when it happens, like, okay, this is great. Let's go back and clean house and or reorganize and see our systems because we're gonna get hit again, and then with work, so it's like better prepared for it. So those downtimes are really busy up times that should be used and just try to catch up with all the secondary stuff that you're like, okay, I'll deal with this later. It's like, okay, you
Right.
jump on it now, don't relax or think it's not going to get back into craziness again.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And in fact, sometimes we may even build into our schedule sort of like a day off where we actually catch up on stuff, right? Like instead of waiting for that, maybe like once a month, we'll have like a half a day where you're catching up on those big projects that you're just, sitting on the back burner there.
Very cool. So what are the dates for the conference? And I think it's in Dallas. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, sorry. To get back to your original question, the conference is going to be, it's a full day. It's Friday, the 27th of September, and it's in Dallas. Yeah, so I encourage
This,
everyone to check it out.
yeah, it's coming up, and when you purchase it, you get all three tracks on video, so you could just go to one and still get the other ones as well.
You do. So, John, that's a really good point. That's something they're trying a little differently this time. That there are three tracks, including an innovation and technology track, and you don't have to sort of sit in one track all day long. You can sort of like move back and
Yeah.
forth a little bit, and that's all included in your registration.
Now, do they have any? I know AILA, the national conference, has like a big party and stuff like that. Is that built into this one too, or only the national does that?
Not. I don't think there's a huge party, but obviously there's like networking event. As you see some of your colleagues, and I'm trying to remember if there's going to be a cocktail party sort of on either end of the conference. Usually that happens.
Mhm.
I've got to take a look at that myself. To be honest,
So
it's always
you're
a
in
fun
Boston.
time.
You're flying into Texas. Yeah, I've been to LA. I want to go to this one, but I want to go to all of them. Really, it's kind of hard. I got little kids, and until they get older, it's hard. How you probably if you have kids, they're probably older at this time, so it's a little more flexible on your schedule to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, and actually, so I've left. I'm no longer with the DOL committee, and I'm actually with the USCIS committee
Oh, very cool.
now. And so we're actually AILA's taking advantage of the fact that we're down in Dallas, and we're going to try to do a Dallas lockbox tour. So I'm going to go ahead a little earlier just to visit and obviously gather whatever information we can and share that with the AILA membership.
Yeah, please do. Well, one thing that's happening, it's not just Dallas Lockbox, it's more like Texas Service Center is like we're not getting receipts for
Yeah.
I-751s and not transferring out to NVC cases in the past 90 days. And they're not just giving us the information. So I started contacting congressional ombudsman. I'm trying to get things back from them. But we got these NVC cases just sitting there. And I really want to get him in and DQ'd before, if Trump comes and he does a travel ban or this or that. And it's like the families are like just, they think we did something wrong. I'm like, I don't know. They're not transferring the case. One annoying thing that the NBC is doing is not even adding our emails or notifying us when they get stuff. So it's just the lawyer doesn't know on our cases.
Yeah, no, John, that's actually a really good point. And I would definitely, for all AILA members and anyone listening, I would say, any issues like that, definitely submit a report through the AILA website to the respective committees. Overall, the AILA USCIS committees are looking at receipt issues, mailbox, lockbox type issues, file rejections. There's a
Yeah.
lot of those that people are seeing. So we're trying to work on those. And there's a sort of a meeting that we're going to have with them in the fall, sort of an engagement. We're going to raise some of these agenda questions.
Yeah, speaking of rejections, the fee submission for I-140s now is just so crazy with the asylum fee and marking the boxes, and it's just like they just made the most complicated system. You think the Democrats would be like, okay, let's make it more convenient, but people who file pro say even like a marriage case, like it's the EAD is 260 if it's with the I-485, but it's more with this. And if you go to the USCIS fee calculator, it says the paper fee, but it doesn't give the digital fee because we take filing fees from clients and we submit ourselves. And I keep like
Right.
memorizing the paper fee, and then I overcharge clients to send it back. Then it creates just more work for no reason because I'm not used to the new numbers yet. It's just like, why did you make it so complicated? There's so many people probably missing deadlines for Child
Right.
Protection Act or this or that just because of like how convoluted they made the system.
Well, I will tell you, right, and I agree with you on that one, right? So, number one, there are two USCIS, AILA USCIS committees that are doing a joint effort on looking at the fee calculator and giving feedback to
Mm.
USCIS on that. The other piece, a little bit more embarrassing, is that I actually printed out like the final rule with all the fees because
Yeah.
every time a client asks me, I've got to flip through the pages and I got things
Yeah.
dog-eared and highlighted. It's like, yeah, it's it's
I'm
pretty
surprised I've
convoluted.
memorized it, but it's like we have one client. I don't want an EAD, but I want an AP, and I'm like, okay, like I got to start doing math now. So I have a bookmark open up and Control F, but it's
Yeah.
just like I'm not sure why I'm not memorizing it, but it's just so many different numbers. That was so easy before. It was like 535 for this or 1440 for that. You're all done. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, John, I mean, as far as memorization goes, I used to be really good. I will say, people said maybe my brain has already maxed out on like on whatever knowledge I can have, so I'll just have to make room and move things around. So,
I think
yeah,
as a lawyer, we kind of learned to like not memorize, just know where we got to go look. So it's one of
definitely.
those kind of things. I
Yeah,
wish ChatGPT would get better. We just ask it. It's too unreliable for the AI to do it. Just to quickly ask, hey, what's the fee on this, and pump it out to you.
right. Well, I
Thank
mean,
you.
it's tricky, right? Because hopefully, computers won't take over what we do. But there's always that nuance of like, oh, they give you the fee, and is it the paper fee, paper
Yeah.
filing, or digital filing, and yeah,
And we have
yeah,
some clients who are like, well, we want to submit the I-130 by paper and the I-485. I'm like, no. We're not going to separate these cases. We're just going to send them all at once because just
right.
even the online system, like we're doing all these pro and place cases. When you send it to the client to review and they like have problems, they send it back. There's always glitches in that. So we just
Mm,
download a PDF first, have them prove it. But even then, there's just so many errors that could happen back and forth that I'm like, paper was kind of just better for what it was, or if we
right.
could, but it's so clunky. It's so hard to make a system that works. And they said we're gonna go full digital. I'm not sure when that's gonna happen. The way things are going so far.
Yeah, I mean, at the annual AILA annual conference, there was sort of the USCIS sort of had a meeting where they talked about possibly, right? Like, don't quote me on this, although I know I'm being recorded. Is that probably at the end of the year, they're hoping, end of this year, end of 2024, they're hoping to allow us to sort of like upload a PDF of filing, because
Hmm.
as you may know, a lot of the issues have been whether or not there's an API, with like
Yeah.
software, immigration software systems in their system, and they've been talking about possibly allowing us to upload a PDF or something. So, I mean, that would be amazing. But again, fingers crossed, or don't hold your breath. Who knows, right?
Yeah, because they have these digital PDF readers, and they might not upload stuff. And if they say even when we send paper in, they just scan it and destroy the paper. And we're like, oh, I like sending paper in as a backup, but um, there's a good amount of just mishaps that are still happening, and
Mm,
RFEs for stuff we send, especially the affiliate support. Just like it creates recently, and I've seen it in Facebook groups who have posted. There's an uptick of all this hours of additional work that are completely unnecessary happening, and you're like, well, I got a ton of work already ahead of me, and then I have to go like re-upload this I-64 stuff or whatever I-140
mm,
stuff, and you're just like, please, man, like don't make more work on this because
right,
it's hard to
right,
charge the clients further for it. They get frustrated, think we messed up or something.
right, right.
Yeah, my associate this morning is like, we should have a thing like for USCI's fee errors. There's additional fee because we didn't make the mistake they did because then it adds like 3 hours of work. I'm like, it's hard to do that with clients, but it's kind of put it in there because it's
Mm,
so much so time consuming doing all this stuff.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way they could do that?
Well, obviously people can email me. My email address is vlau@clarklau.com. Also, you feel free to check out our website, clarklau.com. We post updates. Try not to spam people too much, so I'll
Yeah.
just post whatever really relevant updates to people, and happy to share whatever information that we've got.
I appreciate. Well, one more question is you say you speak Chinese. Is it Mandarin that you speak?
So my parents are from Hong Kong. My Cantonese, I would say, is about 90%. My Mandarin is probably closer to 60 to 70%. But most importantly, John, I know how to order food, and that's all you really need to know, right?
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's a pleasure meeting you. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
All right. Good talking to you, John. Take care. Have a great day.